Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling a massive and frankly frustrating challenge that pretty much every new content creator faces at some point. You know the drill. You're pouring your absolute heart into writing, recording, sharing, but when it comes time to actually, make a living, crickets. Nothing. So why is that? Well, today we're going to look at the fundamental shift you need to make to go from just being a quote-unquote writer tossing content into the void to becoming a true brand owner who's actually building an empire. We're going to uncover what I like to call the invisible pillars that support a profitable personal brand. So if you've ever felt like you're grinding away and that hard work just isn't translating into actual revenue, you are in the exact right place.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Why do so many incredibly talented creators fail right on the eve of monetization? It's a heartbreaking reality, honestly. Look, the golden era of the traffic dividend, that time when platforms practically handed you free views just for showing up? Yeah, that's completely over. Millions of people are rushing into content creation right now, and they're holding on to this belief that if they just polish their product and work super hard, wealth is just going to naturally follow. But hard work alone, it doesn't guarantee anything anymore. From a professional creator's perspective, a personal brand doesn't actually grow just because the product is good. It grows because of something much deeper that most beginners completely miss.
And here is the harsh truth. It's because they attract freebie seekers. Seriously, so many creators spend months, sometimes literally years, building an audience, only to wake up and realize they've built the completely wrong audience. Think about it. If you spend your early days just handing out free sweet treats to inflate your follower count, you're basically conditioning your audience to expect a permanent open bar. So, what happens when you finally introduce a product with an actual price tag? Not only are they going to refuse to buy, but they might actually get mad at you and leave. They feel like you've broken this unspoken free contract. You've essentially built your entire house on sand.
So how in the world do we fix this? Well, we look at the secret playbook used by the absolute top creators. Instead of obsessing over the product right out of the gate, they focus on 3 invisible pillars to build a solid, closed loop of trust. Step 1, filter fans. Step 2, build connection. And step 3, exchange value. Honestly, if we don't understand the hierarchy and the relationship between these 3 exact elements, we're never going to cross that chasm from a struggling beginner to a successful brand owner. So let's break down this roadmap step by step.
All right, kicking things off with step 1, filter paying fans.
Now, a lot of beginners think content creation is about casting the widest net possible, right? Get as many eyeballs as you can. But it's actually the exact opposite. It's more like sieving for gold. On one side of the equation, you have the freebie seeker. These are the folks just casually browsing for entertainment or some quick, easy hacks. On the flip side, we have the paying soul. This is your ideal fan. They respect the value of depth, they actually have purchasing power, and most importantly, they are facing real, pressing pain points. Your actual goal here is to actively repel the wrong people so you can attract the right ones. Breaking that illusion of free early on is a fantastic filter. It basically makes the freebie seekers run for the hills, which is great, leaving you with a highly concentrated audience of genuine potential clients.
Okay, so the million-dollar question is, how do you actually do this? Well, you've got to start filtering on day 1. And you do this by deploying really specific, deep knowledge. You can't just share generic cookie-cutter advice. You need to share a unique social commentary or a highly specific viewpoint that acts like a hook. You are actively trying to identify those people who have actual bleeding neck pain points. You're looking for that specific subset of people who are more than willing to pay a premium for your packaged thinking. It's all about signaling to the market loud and clear, hey, I solve complex problems and my solutions are highly valuable.
Which brings us right to step 2, the role model.
All right, so once you've actually filtered your audience and found those paying souls, how do you get them to hand over their trust? Connection can take a bunch of different forms, but in the commercial world, the absolute most stable foundation for a connection is the power of being a role model. Let's look at a classic case study here, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Why on earth do millions of investors globally buy Berkshire Hathaway stock, or literally drive all the way to Omaha, Nebraska, just to sit in a shareholder meeting? The core connection there isn't just some simple buyer-seller transaction. No, it's because Buffett and Munger are quite literally showing them what making money looks like. Through decades of consistent words and actions, they've transformed themselves into the very embodiment of wisdom and wealth.
And this brilliantly illustrates the concept of role model leverage. Think of it like being a massive lighthouse instead of just another billboard on the highway. You're creating this incredibly powerful commercial connection by living as a consistent, successful example. When your audience looks at you and genuinely thinks, man, I want the results you have, you generate a massive gravitational pull. This creates a kind of commercial trust that is practically indestructible. You aren't just selling them a random product, you're showing them a desirable outcome that you yourself actually embody.
And now we reach the final pillar. Step 3. Exchange value.
So this is the ultimate goal of monetization, right? But it features a highly counterintuitive reality. The product is actually just a logical shell. The purchase itself is a receipt of identity. We constantly hear this phrase, content is king, but think about Buffett again for a second. His entire investment philosophy is 100% public. He literally gives it away for free in interviews and annual letters. There are almost zero secrets left, yet books about him still sell millions of copies. Why? Because buying the product is like buying a VIP backstage pass. It's a way for the fan to consolidate their connection with the creator. That digital product, whether it's a book or a newsletter, it's essentially an admission ticket. The product just provides a logical excuse to buy, but the intrinsic drive to pull out their wallet, that comes entirely from those first two pillars we talked about. They're the right fan, and they deeply trust you as a role model.
This perfectly leads us into our packaging strategy: free content versus paid results.
Okay, so if your core knowledge is supposed to be public so you can build trust, what exactly goes behind the paywall? Like, how do you package your knowledge so it actually retains its value? Well, here's exactly how you do it. Your free content? That's your static logic and your frameworks. You give this away unreservedly to build trust. It's basically like giving away a map. But your paid content, that is entirely for dynamic results. You don't just sell the map all over again, you become their real-time GPS. Think about it like this. You can teach everyone your framework for analyzing market trends for absolutely free, but your weekly, deep dive breakdown of this week's specific news events based on that framework, or maybe your monthly risk warnings based on your logic, those dynamic, real-time applications are incredibly valuable. You share the static logic for free, and you package the dynamic results for pay.
So to kind of summarize this whole cognitive leverage game we've been talking about, your filtered fans, they are the solid foundation of everything. The connection, that role model leverage, well, that provides the momentum. And the value exchange is simply the closing of the loop. It's that final transaction that solidifies the whole relationship. Please, whatever you do, don't fall into the trap of obsessing over making a product that is supposedly absolutely unique and has never been seen before in the history of the world. Instead, obsess over building an irreplaceable bond of trust with your audience. Because when you yourself become a convincing result, every single piece of knowledge you package becomes hard currency in the market.
Which leaves us with this final, absolutely crucial question. What dynamic results are you packaging today? If you've been stuck just handing out free treats to an audience that is never going to convert, it is time to seriously shift your perspective. Stop trying to just be a writer writing into the void. Start filtering for your paying souls right now, become the role model they so desperately need, and start packaging the real-time, dynamic value that they are actually eager to buy. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I genuinely challenge you to look at your own content strategy today and figure out which of these 3 invisible pillars you need to reinforce. Keep learning, keep building, and I will see you next time.